Hello, this is Watch All About with another watch review, and in this review we are looking at a couple of the Spinnaker Hull watches, namely the Quartz Chronograph and the automatic version. So a lot of it is the same, a lot of the specs are the same, such as the sizing and the rating, water resistance rating. However, we obviously have those two very obvious differences in the movement and in turn the style of dial as well. So what are the prices? Well, the chronograph comes in with an RRP of $235 and the automatic comes in with a price of $250. So the RRPs are pretty reasonable to begin with. However, don't forget you can use the code WIAA15, so that's Watch All About 15, on the Spinnaker website. That will get you 15% off. So if you use that code WIAA15, the price now changes. The Chrono is now around $199 or £160, and the automatic is $212.50, which equates to around £170. So you do get a fairly decent amount of watch for your money. Both of them quite reasonably priced. So let's discuss the specs and have a look at them in closer detail to see, if they are worthy of your hard-earned cash. So let's start off with some of the specs then. So starting off with the specs, which are the same. So the sizes, 42mm diameter. Let me just pop one on there. So I've got about a 7¼ inch wrist, just for reference. Okay, here we go. So 42mm diameter, a height of 15.5mm, and a lug-to-lug length of 47.5mm. So pretty decent size. They have a lot of wrist presence, look good on, you notice them, but still not absolutely gigantic. 42mm I think is quite a sweet spot for me. Certainly I don't like to go over that if possible. So size-wise, pretty nice. The water resistance is 10 atmospheres or 100 meters, so you're pretty good. You're pretty covered for a decent amount of water resistance there. And you get a 22mm lug width as well, so you have a decent... It works well with the size of the case, the lug width. And obviously 22mm is very, very popular size as well. If you did want to change the strap, then you're sorted there. And a 2-year warranty as well. So what are the differences? Well, primarily the weight, because of the type of movement. The weight of the Chrono comes in at 83 grams and the weight of the Auto comes in at 91 grams. Not a massive difference, but the difference is there. Both of them feel pretty easy to wear. Nothing too crazy heavy. They're just, you can wear them on your wrist for a prolonged period of time because of that. So that's good. Movements then. So the TMI VK53 is powering the chronograph, and that is that's basically a movement that is used quite a lot, and it is, if I just undo this pusher, is basically a mecha quartz, which many people like to use for a chronograph, which is very, very good. We have this running seconds hand, which has a 5 seconds sweep. That's sort of like the mechanical aspect of it. But on top of that, we also have a big date at 12, which is quite a nice design touch. The chronograph minutes hand and a 24-hour indicator, and then the running seconds hand at 6 as well. So if I just push the top button to stop it, and then pretty decent snapback on that. The automatic is using a Seiko NH35, which we see lots and lots and lots. And it's a pretty solid movement. Nothing too exciting though. It doesn't look the nicest, which is probably why this is quite a nice example of a case back that lets you see the movement, but it's not gorgeous movement, so it's hidden it reasonably well. And I've measured this. It's coming in at plus 5.8 seconds a day, so that's pretty accurate as well. So that's pretty good going for £170 or $212. All right, so let's have a look at both of them aspect by aspect. We might as well start off with something a little bit easier and start off with the case. Now the case is sort of like a definite cushion shape, and the primary difference is nice and shapely style case, as you can see. Quite a lot of polished accents on there, so be careful of that. The primary differences really are, if I just grab this one as well, obviously on the side we have, the crown's the same, but we have pushers, naturally, on the chronograph. And on the chronograph we also have a tachymeter as well, on the brushed bezel. And then the only other difference really is the case back. So we have a exhibition window on the automatic, whereas it's sort of a solid case back with a frosted Spinnaker finish to it on the chronograph. So everything else is very nicely done though. You know, if you look at it up close, really nice shape to it. Mentioned before, the size is pretty nice as well. The bezel is brushed, which is a great idea because that's gonna hold up against scratches a lot better. And we have a really lovely double domed sapphire crystal as well. You can see there, no matter what angle you're hitting it at, you maintain decent legibility. If I just show you the crystal on the chronograph, you can see there, lovely example. And we get a nice flash of anti-reflective coating at certain lights as well, as you can see there. So really nice crystal as well. And just having a little bit of a close-up of the tachymeter on the bezel. There we go, looks pretty nice. And I prefer the look of the tachymeter. Actually, it keeps things a little bit more interesting. So moving on to the crown, then the crown has the Spinnaker logo nice and deeply engraved on the end there, nice and accurate. The pushers, now the pushers are nice. It's cool that they have screw-in functionality to lock it. Obviously that's good for deep depths, but it does mean you can't use it. So you do, if you are a sucker for using your chronograph, you will have to keep them undone like that. They look cool, however they do sometimes sort of become a little bit loose, so that's just something to be aware of. You're going to have to keep on top of that. However, you know, it's nice to see that level of detail on a watch costing this much, so quite a nice touch there. And then finally the case back, nothing too exciting. You can see that it's fully polished, and if I just grab the automatic, same again, really bits of information, fully polished, and then just the exhibition window with the Spinnaker sort of markings on the glass, which is quite nice, as you can see. So the straps. Now the straps are pretty much exactly the same, apart from different colours, different stitching style as well. As you can see, the thickness of them, if I just put them side by side, thickness is exactly the same. The buckle also exactly the same, brushed with the Spinnaker logo on the top. Very nice to use, very easy to use. Even this top section is exactly the same as well, just a different colour. But the only difference is the little bit of stitch detailing. I really like the leather straps. The quality is really lovely. It's really nice and thick, very comfortable to wear, and really supple as well. Decent thick stitching as well, so really good quality leather strap. So moving on to the dial then, the main difference here. The automatic, this is the like the California style with the numerals, and the chronograph, they all have the same style but just different color scheme. What I really like about them is sort of like the texture to the dial. Now the texture is a little bit different on the automatic. It's more potholey, you know, it reminds me of sort of like craters on the moon, for instance, but we'll have a look at that with the macro lens in closer detail. And the chronograph, it is more uniform, but it's just really well finished on both counts. So the hands are exactly the same, which is a good thing to keep that similarities through. We have, so if I get the chrono, have sort of like a brass kind of feel to the hands, which again, really nice. And I think it's just really well designed in both counts, you know, really lovely depth to it as well on this instance. And then on this one, the hour markers are all applied with, again, great depth, good quality finishing as well. So I think from a design point of view, they've done a great job on both counts. Let's get the macro lens on though and have a look at it in even closer detail. Oh, before we do that, let's have a look at the Loom. The Loom is pretty great on both of these examples. So that's just like in broad daylight, but I'll also show a Loom shot in the dark right now. So good strength Loom, charges up fast, and it lasts surprisingly, you know, a good amount of time. So they've done a really good job on the Loom. All right, now let's get the macro lens on then and have a look at it in closer detail. So let's start off with the dial of the chronograph. So you can see here we have our cheeky little date window. If I just set the chronograph seconds hand moving, you see that ticking away. We can look at the date. It's a little bit deep, but it's still nice finishing around it with that border. See here the depth, the sandwich dial as well. Really lovely examples of depth there with the loom shining through as well. Our running seconds hand in a similar way. So again, you can see that lovely example of the sort of rustic feel to the texture, which I really like. And this cheeky little like running track around the outside as well. The hands have a very subtle brushed finish to them, which I really dig as well. I think they look really nice. And the Spinnaker logo there as well with raised print work. Again, even up close, everything is really nicely put together and nicely done. Moving on to the automatic, very similar really. So here we have the texture. You can see they're not quite as uniform, a bit more potholey, a little bit more sort of like natural. But again, we have our date window with a nice little border around it. Our hour markers, as you can see, with some great depth on them. So great quality there. And here we have our hands with our brushed finish as well and the logo applied. So again, very nice finishing up close. Moving on to the case then. So whilst we've got the automatic, we'll look at the bezel. So as you can see there, just fully brushed. However, on the chronograph, we have tachymeter engraved and printed. Nice finishing on that. No complaints whatsoever. On the back to the auto, we have just a pretty standard side with the logo engraved on there. Decent grip as well, easy to use. And then on the chronograph, here we have, you can see that screwing in. Very nice and easy to use that is. Again, the engraved crown on there. Moving over to the case back. So this is the chronograph with the frosted back, nothing too exciting. And then looking at the automatic, where we have the Seiko NH35 peeking through. You can see there ticking away, and with this like gold, print work on the underside of the exhibition window as well. And then finally, just moving on to the strap then. So this is the automatic strap, very nice soft top grains you can see there. Very thick, nicely sealed, cheeky bit of thick stitching there. And looking at the buckle, similar on both counts, but decent engraving on that. Finally, looking at the strap on the chrono, so again, same nice top grain, thick stitch work, and so on and so forth. All right, okay. So, would I recommend the Spinnaker Hull Automatic or Chronograph? I certainly would. I think Spinnaker just keep on getting better and better somehow. You know, they're releasing some really great watches, and the price points are really competitive as well, especially when you can use like a 15% off code like mine, WIA15. The fact that this watch is £170, this watch is £160, you are getting a lot of watch for your money. If I was to pick one or the other, from a visual perspective, I think the chronograph is the better option, mainly because the amount of detail that goes into the dial is really nice. I really like the sandwich style rather than the applied hour markers on the automatic. I just think that one looks a lot more interesting. There's a lot more going on. Yes, it's a quartz over auto, but you know, that's something that I personally don't mind too much, as long as it's, you know, a decent looking watch, and in this case it really is. So yeah, I've been really impressed with them, and they just keep on getting better and better, Spinnaker watches. So, you know, keep a lookout on all of their new releases, because they're doing some pretty cool stuff, and for cheap as well. So great build quality, impressive specs. You just can't argue with it, to be honest. You know, if it looks good, and you know, it's certainly a style for you to keep in mind if you are looking for watches in this kind of vein. So thanks for watching, guys. This is what it's all about. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment your thoughts as well. And I'll see you next time. Okay, speak to you soon. Bye bye.